The CAF is just a part of a much larger team of capabilities that exist out there. And when the municipalities are faced with challenges that they're unable to meet on their own, and they go to the provinces, the provincial resources will be rallied in turn to assist with that. And of course, once the provinces get to the point where they can no longer do that, the CAF becomes one of several options that the federal government might employ in order to provide assistance. My name's Major Chris Hanley. I'm the J33, or Current Operations, for Joint Task Force Atlantic Headquarters based here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I've been a part of Joint Task Force Atlantic Headquarters for 11 years now, and in that time I've been able to participate in 8 disaster response operations, and all of those have happened within the last 6 years. The nature of those events range anywhere from hurricane response to flooding, to severe weather events and forest fires, and they've happened in all 4 of the Atlantic provinces over that time. The thing that comes to mind with Hurricane Fiona is that it was big. It was remarkably big. Having seen hurricanes come through here, because I've lived in Atlantic Canada most of my life, this one was noteworthy in that it impacted 3 provinces simultaneously. That's the first time, I believe, since Joint Task Force Atlantic was stood up in 2005, where 3 provinces were impacted simultaneously and all put in requests for federal assistance. In each one of those areas, we need to build a force in accordance with the approved request for federal assistance that was submitted, and that force needs to be commanded by a Joint Task Force commander who will have that authority on the ground. So this would also be the first time where we had 3 simultaneous Joint Task Force commanders appointed under Operation Atlantis for a domestic response in Atlantic Canada. The number of troops that we committed, of course, that's always based on an assessment of tasks, and when the military receives that request, we will do that assessment. I would say it was the highest since Hurricane Igor hit the south coast of Newfoundland in 2010. For the types of tasks that the CAF undertook during the Hurricane Fiona response, they varied from province to province because each one of the provinces had different needs that needed to be met. In Nova Scotia, it tended to be primarily route reconnaissance and opening. It also focused on assistance directly to the power utility, Nova Scotia Power in this case, in order to help clear debris to facilitate power restoration. We also conducted some wellness checks in Nova Scotia. In PEI, the response was almost solely restoration of power. So we had CAF personnel working directly alongside maritime electric crews to ensure that they had clear access to all critical infrastructure that would assist them in restoring power as quickly as possible. In Newfoundland, it tended to be a lot of debris cleanup because of the amount of damage that was done to homes and buildings and roads within Port aux Basques itself. In my position, I don't generally get to see the actual impact or the people who have been directly affected by these storms. However, there was one story that we had the HMCS Margaret Brooke, which was returning from a deployment to Operation Nanook up in Canada's Arctic. And she was redeployed under our authority to the south coast of Newfoundland. And one of the communities that they put into is actually the last one we were able to reach, and that was a small community called La Poile, population of, I think it's around 60 people, and a very elderly population. So when the Margaret Brooke finally put into La Poile and made contact and sent their report back, our liaison officer located with the Emergency Services Division in St. John's reported that the entire operations center cheered because some of them had family in La Poile, and they haven't been able to talk to them since the storm hit, and they had no idea how they were doing. What we will do almost immediately after an operation concludes is that we'll conduct what we call an after-action review, or an AAR. And that's where we take a look at everything that was done on that operation, how it was done, and did we do it well, or was there need for improvement? And those observations and recommendations will result in some changes to either our plans or our tactics, techniques, and procedures that we'll employ so that the next time we do it, hopefully we're going to be sustaining the things we do right and improving the things we didn't do right. For my personal position there, I'm always reminded, especially being a resident of Atlantic Canada and having to go through these things like hurricanes on a fairly regular basis, it always reminds me individually that I can always be doing better to improve my own personal resilience, the resilience of my family. Because most importantly, in the first 72 hours of a disaster response, the local authorities, the municipal and the province, they need to be able to focus on just understanding the nature of what's happened and where the greatest need exists. If there's anything I can do or my family can do in order to ensure that we remain not part of that problem as much as possible, then we're enabling those civilian authorities to do their work. If I can make sure that my family's looked after, then that enables me to be able to get to what I do quicker and be able to render assistance where it's needed.